local presentation of Read About It is made possible in part by a grant from Cox Communications of Oklahoma City, proud sponsor of this effort to promote reading, education, and literacy in our community.
Coming of age in the 60s will be the topic on Read About It tonight. Hi, I'm B.J. Williams. With me is A.B. Hollingsworth to talk about his novel Flatbellies. Susie Beasley will talk with Jackie Taylor. Kids Corner will feature Shelley Ziegler-Hill. We also have Doug Benton, Evelyn Davis, Ernestine Clark, and Leslie Cole Jackson. Coming up, A.B. Hollingsworth.
The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It, with your host, B.J. Williams.
A.B. Hollingsworth is a local surgeon. He is also the medical director for the Women's Center at Mercy Hospital. He has written a nonfiction book about breast cancer, and in his spare time decided to venture into fiction. And his first novel is Flatbellies, and it's actually a coming of age here in Oklahoma, isn't it?
Correct. Small town Oklahoma,
And
1960s.
I take it that your own experiences perhaps inspired you to write a book
Oh
like
yes,
this?
and people want to make the book truer than it really is, but they were the experiences of high school that I elaborated on.
Now, so you played golf in high school?
Right. Played on the high school golf team, and the guys that we grew up with on the golf course formed the nucleus for the book. But it's not. It took a lot of liberties. But there's enough truth there that people recognize parts of characters, and then some of the incidents actually happen.
Okay. So from that, I'm assuming that you really did draw your characters. Did you put them together a little bit from here, a little bit from there?
Correct. The clown character, the smart aleck character, is Peachy in the book, and he is composite of two people primarily. And we had a reunion last summer, a golf tournament reunion, and people came back from around the country, and they decided one guy was about 2/3 Peachy and the other fellow was 1/3 Peachy.
Okay. Now, I have to ask, the incident where the boys decided to celebrate 4th of July and set the...
That's one of the true ones.
Oh, that's one of the true ones. So you did set the police chief's lawn on fire,
We did.
huh?
Well, we set a field on fire.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Unfortunately, that seems to be a recurring theme among young boys. I don't know why that is.
Well, I had a wonderful picture reading that of all these boys out there trying to stomp out the fire.
That happened. That's one of the ones that's based in a lot of truth.
Oh, okay. Well, now, in the book, Chipper, who is our protagonist, actually falls into golf, doesn't he? He doesn't plan on it.
Well, they just kind of stumble in. It happened to be open for the summer recreation program, and they just go there because there was an opening for them. Mm-hmm. And he's sort of the reluctant hero in the book, and ends up being the person that tries to provide the synergy to bring the team together, even though he's clearly not the best golfer.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's inspired a little bit by Mr. Ashbrook.
Right. There's the old mentor role that there actually was a fella at the El Reno Golf and Country Club that organized junior tournaments for us, and he sure seemed elderly when we were young. I'm not exactly sure what age he was, but at any rate, he formed the basis for that character.
Mm-hmm. Now, in real life, did the teenagers get thrown out of the tournaments at the golf club?
They did. They actually, that's another one that was true. When we were on the high school golf team, we played in the club tournament, and we took the winner of the championship flight, the runner-up for championship A flight, and the runner-up for A flight. The golf team did, and as a result, they passed a rule that no more high schoolers could enter the club tournament, and that of course was put in the book. I'm making it sound like the book is totally true, and that's not the case at all. It just happened to pick two stories that were true.
Well, a couple of them that intrigued me, but yeah. I think one of the things that you accomplish in this book is really getting the feel for teenagers who, they are probably a lot less confident than they seem, and obviously there's all kinds of undercurrents going on, and I mean, here are these guys, they've got their letters, they've lettered as athletes, but they're playing golf.
That's right. and it was barely considered a sport. In fact, most considered it a non-sport, and that's why I made a big deal out of that in the book.
Yeah, I noticed Chipper was, well, is it or isn't it? And
Right.
I liked his definition that a sport is something that made the girls scream.
Right, and therefore golf was not a sport because none of the girls screamed.
They didn't come out and cheer on the
That's right.
sidelines.
That's right.
Well, in the book, though, they did. He seems to have lucked out and found a really nice girl to be tangled up with, shall we
Yes,
say.
people like Amy.
Uh-huh.
She's fictional,
Yeah.
but
very grounded, I
yes,
thought.
right. She's kind of the bedrock for it, Chipper.
Even though he does have some problems. He got, well, I think as we all do, and that's something else you portrayed convincingly here, is that we find ourselves tangled up with some people that are not good for us, and not necessarily because we went looking for them or anything. It's just
It happens. Right.
They're there,
Right.
and you kind of have to live with them.
Right.
It's I guess a real slice of life. Now I know you have said that a lot of people are saying this is a golf book, but that wasn't really what you were going for.
No, it was. I was just going for a coming-of-age story, and I'd actually been trying to write fiction. I started my first book 23 years ago, so this wasn't just anything that I fell into. I've worked hard studying the craft in order to get here, and so I just picked. I just wanted a coming-of-age story and just picked golf as the medium. The next one, we're taking a few of the characters on to college, and we're going to have a college story. It's not really a sequel, it's more of a spin-off, and introduce a lot of new characters. And and that will clearly not be identified as a golf book, but we've gotten a lot of accolades in the golf world, but the publisher has not been able to overcome this pigeonhole that came in strong. This is a golf book, in spite of not putting any golf on the cover and trying to deny. Maybe the denial on the cover when it said it's not about golf. Maybe it was protesting too much. This is not a golf book.
Well, I don't know anything about golf, and I was able to read the book and not feel like, uh-oh, I don't understand what's going on here. I think there were a few things, but terms that I didn't catch on, but you get the feeling for them as you read it.
I tried to keep all that to a minimum so that it would appeal to a broad range of readers.
Well, I think anybody who is interested in Oklahoma in the 60s, because I thought you did a very good, at least from the teenage point of view, a good job of that. And teenage boys really trying to come to terms with a lot of really bad things. One of the characters loses his father. Now the snake bite, that
fiction. That's usually the first question. Universally, people want to know if the snake bite story is true, and that is fiction.
But I think it was a valuable part of the book. So I was I get a little queasy when there's a lot of bad stuff like that going on. But, it is something that happens.
The slice of life says it, because it's not a little rosy. People think it's going to be a fun little book about golf and playing around in high school. It's not that silly level of coming of age. It's a serious look at what life is like.
Yeah, Chipper's got some serious problems, and I think he came a couple of times pretty close to the edge. I was worried about him in the gym. that was a little.
There's several times he struggles. To me, the worst is when he worked so hard to make his teammate Peachy good enough, and then Peachy ends up beating him out for the state tournament. And it ends up backfiring. He's so devoted to the team concept that he ends up, in a way, self-destructing by his selflessness. Well,
I'm not sure that being selfless is self-defeating.
Except in this case, it was almost taken to the extreme.
Well, unfortunately, our time is up. I want to thank you very much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
And I hope when your next book is published that you'll come back and tell us about it.
Great. Thank you very much, BJ.
Thank you. We've had with us today A.B. Hollingsworth telling us about his book, Flat Bellies. You can find it at your local library and your favorite bookstore. Coming up, Susie Beasley will be talking with Jackie Taylor about a book I'm sure you'll all enjoy.
Jackie, tell us about The Terrible Hours, the man behind the greatest submarine rescue in history by Peter Moss. Who is the man?
The man is Charles Momsen, and he was actually a gentleman who joined the Navy. He was inspired by, believe it or not, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I think that was an absolutely fascinating story because basically it's about the rescue of a submarine. It's actually the first time they were actually able to put forth an effort to save people in that went down in a submarine. Before that time, it was all hands lost, with the occasional exception, and that was just sheer luck. But this time, they were actually able to save people.
So that's one of the reasons why it was the greatest submarine rescue in history, since it never occurred before? I
would say that's a part of it, and part of it is the fact that the man used techniques that he fought for so many years. I think it was his accomplishments that made it the greatest submarine rescue, and what he had to go through in order to get to that point where they were able to actually save over 30 people out of some 50 some odd crew members who sunk with the sub.
So what made this particular book so interesting to you?
I think it's because it's so well written. It reads just like a fiction adventure, but it's nonfiction. This is about actual people going through some incredibly painful situations, trying to find the submarine that in one place and finding out that it's actually in another place just by sheer accident. So many things happening and so many twists in the story. It's just an incredible suspenseful read, and it's really worth reading for that. I mean, just to see how it turns out, even though you know they make a rescue, you don't know what they went through until you actually read the book. And going back and forth in history to show how Momsen came to the point where he could actually rescue the men from
the red tape and all the bureaucratic.
He ran into so many things that a lot of people do, and
So Momsen's story means something special to you as an individual. Why is this?
Because I think in a time when we search for people as role models, he would be an excellent role model because he had a goal, and even though he hasn't been as widely recognized as other people that we know of, people who actually fought in battles, this man worked towards saving people.
So he was ahead of his time.
He was way ahead of his time. You know, he was just like Jules Verne. And
well, we really appreciate you coming and sharing with us The Terrible Hours, The Man Behind the Greatest Submarine Rescue in History by Peter Moss. We appreciate that, Jackie. And this is available at your local library and your local bookstore. We'll see you next time.
There are millions of websites on the internet, more than 800 million web pages, and thousands of search engines. It's easy to get lost unless you start at metrolibrary.org. Renew your books, browse the catalog, search a database, check movie listings, or even your horoscope. At metrolibrary.org, you'll find the perfect place to start your web journey. A family-friendly site redesigned to meet your needs. Sure, you could cruise the other 799 million web pages, but why?
Well, I have a couple of books for you as well, and this first one is a novel by probably the most famous and one of the most productive romance writers in the world. That's Nora Roberts. This is her latest hardback book, Midnight Bayou, and it is a romance set, as I think you can guess from the title, in the New Orleans area. It takes a look at a former lawyer from Boston who has come down to New Orleans. He went to college with a New Orleans gentleman, and they've been best friends ever since. But he's come down because several years ago he fell in love with a house, and he's decided that what he wants to do with his life is spend it fixing up homes, and he's going to start with this big old mansion that has a really, really sorry, sad tale to tell. And of course he ends up not only with ghosts, but a little bit of reincarnation, so you're sort of getting double money for your, double bang for your buck with Midnight Bayou. Nora Roberts, as I said, is one of the most famous and prolific romance writers. This is one of her better books. It is a very entertaining and enjoyable look at star-crossed lovers over several generations. Some nice hard-edged characters in there, not at all soppy, which is what I think a lot of us think of when we think of romance. But if you have someone on your Christmas list who enjoys romance, I would suggest Midnight Bayou by Nora Roberts. It's enjoyable, it's well written. Now this next book is for anybody who's interested in animals, wild animals, or the environment. It is an absolutely beautiful book called Mara Serengeti, A Photographer's Paradise. It is by Jonathan and Angela Scott. These people have spent over half their lives going through both. The Mara Serengeti is actually 2 major wildlife parks in Africa, and they have spent their lives prowling around, getting as close as they can to all kinds of animals with their camera equipment and taking some wonderful photographs, not only of the predators but also of the prey. There is a lot of information in there. This is well researched. It has all the latest findings about how these animals live in groups and what they do to stay alive. It is, as I said, I was overcome really by the beauty of the photographs, and it makes something more exciting, I think, than your usual coffee table book. I would recommend Mara Serengeti by Jonathan and Angela Scott. Coming up next, we've got Kids Corner. Kelly Rhea talked with Shelley Ziegler-Hill about a book I think a lot of young people will really enjoy.
Hi, we have with us Shelley Ziegler-Hill, and she's brought some great books. She's from the Belle Isle Library. Shelley, tell us what you brought today.
I brought The Landry News by Andrew Clements.
It's really good.
It is a good book. I really like it. It's about a girl named Kara Landry, and she writes a newspaper for her school. And she gets all these other people excited about it, and all these other kids get interested and start helping her with the paper. And she gets in trouble. I'm not going to tell you the dilemma, but she gets a teacher in trouble, and it's all about how she works through her dilemma.
She gets a teacher in
Yes,
trouble?
actually a teacher might lose his job, but that's all I'm going to say about the dilemma.
So she started a newspaper. Was it easy for her to start at her school?
Apparently she had it at another school. She is a new student at this school, and so she started it, and at first the kids kind of thought she was weird, but then they start reading the paper and they see that it's a real neat paper, and they all get involved, and they start using the computer to print it out, and they start making more copies, and the principal gets involved in this dilemma, and so it's real exciting.
Well, it does. It sounds really good. What age is this book appropriate for?
I would say 9 to 12. The main character is a girl, so it may appeal more to girls. But I think boys and girls alike will be interested in the whole dilemma about the First Amendment and the freedom of the press. It's very educational in those terms. I mean, it's a real practical way for kids to see how those rights, work for
freedom
us.
of speech.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, this character, Kara, what's her name? Landry.
And hence the name Landry News.
That's where it comes from. Well, it's a really, really fun read. I thought it gave a nice perspective from the teacher's point of view. So if kids want to find out how teachers look at things in a humorous way.
It does. It talks a lot about this one teacher's life and kind of his own problems and how he deals with them. And I just thought it gave good perspectives on all sides. This is also a book that we at the Bella Library, we do a book club each month. It's called the Mother-Daughter Book Club.
Oh, great.
And it is for girls about 8 to 12. And it's probably the last Tuesday of each month from 6:30 to 7:30, and any girl can call and bring like an aunt or just a friend or
a female relative.
Yeah, some type of female figure, and join the book club.
That sounds so fun, and it's free.
It's free, most definitely.
Wow, free entertainment, great
Food.
Food, fun, and friends. Excellent. Well, we hope that you'll come to the Belle Isle Library for the book club, and we hope that you will read The Landry News by Andrew Clements. You can find this book at your favorite bookstore or at your local library.
Thanks, Shelley and Kelly. It's time now for the New York Times bestseller list. We'll start out with hardback fiction. Number 10 is The Mitford Snowman by Jan Karon. Best Love Poems of Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis, selected by Caroline Kennedy. Journey Through Heart Songs, written and illustrated by Matty J.T. Stepanek. The Sigma Protocol by Robert Ludlam. The Kiss by Danielle Steele. The Corrections by Jonathan Franzen. The Fiery Cross by Diana Gabaldon. Last Man Standing by David Baldacci. Number 2 is Skipping Christmas by John Grisham, and number 1 is Desecration by LaHaye and Jenkins. On the nonfiction list, number 10 is Islam by Karen Armstrong. Churchill by Roy Jenkins. When Character Was King by Peggy Noonan. Holy War, Inc. by Peter Bergen. The Lost Son by Bernard Carrick. John Adams by David McCullough. The Universe in a Nutshell by Stephen Hawking. The Final Days by Barbara Olson. Number 2 is Jack, Straight from the Gut by Jack Welch with John Byrne. And number 1 is The No Spin Zone by Bill O'Reilly. On the children's list, number 10 is Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Ute Scamander. Monsters, Inc., adapted by Kiki Thorpe. Quidditch Through the Ages by Kenilworthy Wisp. The Case of the Jingle Bell Jinx by Alice Leonhardt. The Night Before Thanksgiving by Natasha Wing. Chicken Soup for the Teenage Soul on Tough Stuff, compiled by Jack Canfield, Mark Victor Hansen, and Kimberly Kerberger. Captain Underpants and the Wrath of the Wicked Wedgie Woman by Dab Pilkey. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling. Number 2 is Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and number 1 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Coming up next is Doug Benton and Evelyn Davis. Doug Benton is from the Metropolitan Library System and the Oklahoma Gazette, and Evelyn Davis works at the Downtown Library, and they have a book they'd really like to share with you.
Thanks. Hello again, everybody. I'm here with Evelyn Davis today, and Evelyn wants to talk to us a little bit about Stephen King's latest novel, written in collaboration with Peter Straub, an old collaborator of his from several years back. And the first book they wrote together was called The Talisman.
That is
correct.
Right? Yes.
Now, is it a sequel to this, or is this a continuation of that story?
I would say it is a continuation. And it was 10 years in the making, and the collaboration, as in The Talisman, between the two writers is seamless. You cannot tell where one starts and one stops. Mm-hmm. It is the continuation of the story of Jack Sawyer, who was the young boy who went to the territories in The Talisman. Mm-hmm. He is, at the time of this writing, a prematurely retired detective who has quit at the very top of his career, bedeviled by the suppressed memories of the Talisman and the territories and all that implies. He moves to a very small town, finds a lovely house, and begins to discover an underlying darkness. Children are being killed and mutilated and eaten gruesomely by a figure called the Fisherman. Mm-hmm. And the book, of course, has its share of things that go bump in the night. Yeah. Its most sinister aspect is Black House, which is a carpenter's dream from hell. And it is a window onto another malignant world parallel to both this world and the territories. I might also add that if you have read and are an ardent follower of Stephen King's lifetime work, the Dark Tower series, there are cryptic allusions to characters in those stories, really? As well as in earlier characters in The Talisman.
Now, you talked a little bit here about what the story is. What is the theme? What is the book really about?
I think the book really is about passion for rescue, passion that right be done, that the innocent be rescued.
Well, that's interesting then that the character would be a retired detective, because that is a theme that runs through much of the private eye literature, the Raymond Chandler sort of thing too. The detective as white knight, as it were, or tarnished white knight anyway, coming to the rescue. So that's interesting. I think that they have made their character a detective.
I think it is too, but in order to help the plot and solve the mystery, he would have to be. and over he refers to himself internally by the old-fashioned term, I am a coppice man, which I assume is the word from which cop derives.
Very good. Well, the book is The Black House by Stephen King and Peter Straub. Thank you, Evelyn, for bringing it to our attention, and we will see you all again soon.
There are millions of websites on the internet, more than 800 million web pages, and thousands of search engines. It's easy to get lost unless you start at metrolibrary.org. Renew your books, browse the catalog, search a database, check movie listings, or even your horoscope. At metrolibrary.org, you'll find the perfect place to start your web journey. A family-friendly site redesigned to meet your needs. Sure, you could cruise the other 799 million web pages, but why?
Next, we have Ernestine Clark, who is Director of Development and Volunteer Services with the Metropolitan Library System. She'll be talking with Dr. Leslie Cole Jackson about a book that Dr. Jackson really enjoyed.
Dr. Jackson, I'm so glad you wanted to be on today, and I know you do a lot of reading with your family. You have two young kids and real busy life professionally, but I was interested to know you chose Washington Irving's A Tour on the Prairies, and I was curious to know why you chose that particular book.
Well, Ernestine, thank you, first of all, for inviting me to do this. This is a treat. Washington Irving is a very famous historically significant author, and he was a tourist, one of the first tourists to the wild western country that is today Oklahoma. And I'm very interested in Oklahoma history and how this country looked before everything was farmed and molded by the hand of man. So this was an intriguing book for me. It's his travel log of an expedition with a party of Army conscript rangers and other individuals from Fort Gibson into the then western fringes of known territory as far as settlement and things.
I know you and I had a chance to talk earlier, and you were mentioning that you enjoyed riding horses, and as an Oklahoman had enjoyed that a lot, and got a chance to tour parts of the prairies yourself. So as you were reviewing that book, what kinds of scenes particularly struck you, or what part of the history?
Washington Irving is a vivid painter of pictures with the pen. He is so good at describing the individuals, the appearance of their accoutrements, how they lived, and the country as they traveled through it. And their horses, he was very attached to his horse on this expedition, and just the vivid portrayal of how this country looked and how these people experienced it was very fascinating to me, really called to me.
Another thing that you had just started talking about was there was a connection to Native Americans, and you had one portion of that you were going to highlight, I think.
Well, it was surprising to me. Washington Irving talked about the Native Americans, the Pawnees, the Osage, the Delaware that they encountered on this expedition. They were people. They were not savage, wild people. They had dry senses of humor. He went on and on about the sense of humor the Native Americans had that they met, and how they would joke aside when the Indian Bureau commissioner told them not to have wars and not to raid, and they'd go, well, we better hurry if we're all going to quit.
Wow.
You know, and how beautiful these people were. Again, that was a little bit of a surprise to me.
Well, I wish we could talk for all day on this. I really appreciate your coming to tell us about this book, and we hope you'll come on the show again.
Well, thank you, Ernestine. I appreciate the opportunity.
You bet. Anyone who wants to get A Tour on the Prairies and read it and review it for yourself.
Thanks, Ernestine and Leslie. Remember, you can drop by your library and check out not only books, but video and audio tapes and CDs as well. You can find out all sorts of information. The librarians are just waiting to answer your questions. There are magazines and newspapers available as well, programs for adults and children. And you can find out about all of this on the web when you visit us at www.metrolibrary.org. Be sure and check us out anytime you want to. And join us again next time.